Hello, YouTube fans. Welcome to part 8 of question and answer for Carter Cutlery. I'm Murray Carter, and today we'll answer the last of our personal questions. Question number 1. Murray, you make great outdoor knives. I personally have 5 of them, and I take them hunting with me. They've never failed me. Are you yourself a hunter? If so, what have you hunted? One of my best friends in high school introduced me to hunting. His name was Tim Curnew. And we did a lot of hunting in Nova Scotia, and I shot my first big game animal, a white-tailed deer there. And thus I was introduced to using blades to field dress animals. I admit that the first time I saw that, it made me a little queasy, and it took many years of field dressing both small game and large game to get to a point where I'm fine with it. Incidentally, I actually get queasy when I see my own blood or human blood, but animal blood and guts is just fine. I think one time I gave myself a couple of stitches and passed out from the shock. And then gave myself more stitches here in the head. So I'm not much of a tough guy actually when it comes to blood, guts, and gore and human suffering. But yes, I do hunt, and I've shot a couple of elk since I've been here in North America, and several deer. I really, since moving here in 2005, haven't quite found the time to go hunting, because I've been working so hard to grow and expand my business and to produce better and more capable knives and a wider variety of knives since I've been here. But I do envision a future being semi-retired and having a lot more time to enjoy the outdoors. This past summer, I fished for salmon for the first time in my life on the Columbia River and got sicker than a dog out on the open ocean. The next day we stayed on the river and I was fine, and I ended up catching 3 or 4 really nice salmon in the 20-pound range, and so I was introduced to the world of salmon fishing as well, which is amazing, and a tremendous respect for the fish and everything that goes into it, and the dedication and devotion of the fishermen as well. So I hope to be doing more of that, but I've really been focusing on my business for the past 8 to 10 years. What about knife making and sharpening is most rewarding for you? Why is it your passion? You know, as I mentioned in other videos, I've tried other forms of blacksmithing. I've done architectural blacksmithing. I've made hinges and keys and railings and decorative iron pieces. But for me, at the end of the day, it's all about a cutting edge. And there's just something about that gives me so much joy. Right now, I'm using an apprentice's neck knife, and I love cutting cardboard with it. There's something about this knife that I'm using right now that it'll just sail through hundreds and hundreds of pieces of cardboard as if it was cutting through literally hot butter. And I've never seen a knife so easy to sharpen yet cut for such a long time. And it's a white steel, stainless white steel knife. Absolutely amazing. And so there's a joy in cutting something with a really fine cutting instrument. So I love my neck knives. I love my perfect model kitchen knife. And I love cutting a bell pepper in the kitchen or preparing salad stuff, cutting meat, fish, vegetables, whatnot. I just love a super sharp edge with a really good blade geometry. It gives me just all sorts of sense of satisfaction that are almost as difficult to articulate, but that's what drives me. Question number 3. Who or what would you consider to be the major influence on your work ethic and knife designs? I've come up with 6 names, 3 North American and 3 Japanese bladesmiths who have heavily influenced my knife style, my knife ideals, and my ideology and my business ethics and so on. In North America, they are, first is Tim Hancock, who's a famous bladesmith in the American Bladesmith Society, a master smith who makes knives in Arizona. And I tested for my journeyman smith with him, and he showed me around the shop, and I was influenced by his precision and his kind of artistic interpretation of the Western Bowie and many other projects as well. The way the guy lived his life and lives his life with so much kind of reverence and precision and doing the best in every way he can at every project that he does really was influential on me. I did my mastersmith testing with Bill Moran, who is one of the founding fathers of the American Bladesmith Society. And I have tremendous amount of respect and appreciation for Bill. He's since passed, but he left an amazing legacy. And Ed Fowler. Ed Fowler, I started reading his contributions in books and watching his videos on 52-100 steel. And his devotion to one steel and taking it to the nth degree and finding ways to work that steel in which even metallurgists had never imagined before, and really stretching the boundaries and being cutting edge, and always being able to see kind of the romantic side to every knife story, and seeing that every knife in the industry has its place, even fantasy knives. So I really like Ed Fowler for kind of the spiritual aspect that he brought into knife making as well. Now on the Japanese side, of course I have to start with my teacher, Mr. Yasuyuki Sakamoto, who you can see on the history of the Yoshimoto bladesmiths and see him in person, listen to him in person. I owe everything to him. When I was there in Japan for 18 years, he really took me under his wing, and he gave me the start that I needed, and the continued support and the continued blessing. Mr. Seiichi Hayashi, he taught me how to forge weld, and he taught me how to make Japanese kitchen knives. And he's the one who always used to say, "Moto usku, moto usku." He used to tell me to always make sure to get them thinner, that I wasn't making crowbars, I was making really thin kitchen knives. And I can still hear his voice in my head, and he taught me a lot of the technical aspects of making traditional Japanese kurochi kitchen knives. Then there's Kenichi Shiraki, who you can see on our YouTube videos, Japan's best bladesmith. And his skill and his speed and his precision making those kataha blades is just second to none. I mean, he is the best bladesmith in Japan, and that makes him the best bladesmith in the world. And we still, every time I go to Japan and go to the Osaka, Sakai area, I always hook up with him. We spend some time in his shop, we share a meal together, we have a beer together or whatnot, and absolutely salt of the earth. All those guys, all the North American bladesmiths and Japanese bladesmiths have equally influenced me in different ways. What's the closest shave you've ever had? Well, you can see I shave with a spoon on YouTube, only person in the world to date who's done it. And there were some pretty close calls with that spoon, let me tell you. What car do you drive? I used to have a Mercedes 550 SL, which sounds like a great car, but it paled in comparison to the 600 SL that I had before that, which was a V12 twin turbo. That was amazing, but it had some electrical gremlins, so I got the 550 instead. Great car. It's a miracle in 3 years I never had an accident or any speeding tickets, not for lack of trying. And now I drive a more practical Mercedes GL 450. Love it. Put all my junk in there. Like going back to the 550 SL, I think I was the only guy in North America who would carry bags of Coke and charcoal around in the back of his SL 550. One of the most comical occasions was when I bought a Christmas tree in my 550 SL two-seat convertible, and the only way I could get it home was by putting the top down and putting the Christmas tree in the passenger seat. That was pretty funny. Last question, and this is going to be the last question for the personal questions for this round of Q&A sessions for 2016. My question would be, how has your views and love of knives grown and sharpening grown throughout your journey in your life? I've followed you for a long time, and I see you have great passion for both the making and maintaining of your tools. I don't make knives, but I get much use and enjoyment from them and a zen-like feeling maintaining them. Also, I get great pride in the fact that I can. What's it like for you? I started bladesmithing when I was 18 years old, and I had a chance encounter with Mr. Yasuyuki Sakamoto in Kumamoto, Japan. And I would have never guessed that it was going to become my career, but here we are 27 years later and 23,500 blades later, and now responsible for 8 other people here in the shop. I mean, it's become my life legacy. What's amazing is that by making the best blades I could make, one at a time, with the encouragement and help, technological help from all these other guys that I already mentioned, I've been able to achieve all the dreams I ever had in my life. I always wanted to fly airplanes and helicopters, got to get my license and work at the same time. I always wanted to write a book, written book. I always wanted to make videos, made videos. I traveled to crazy places, did that. Speak, foreign languages, speak Japanese and French. All of these things I was able to accomplish, I'm 47, so at a relatively young age, thanks to bladesmithing. Now, every time I step into the forge, light the fire, oil the power hammer, start forging steel, all of that is in my mind. All these wonderful things I've been able to accomplish thanks to bladesmithing. And became a U.S. citizen because of bladesmithing as well, which is a really important one. And so when I'm making knives, all of that gratitude and appreciation and reverence goes back into the next batch of knives I make. So it's cyclic. So I feel such a tremendous amount of thanks and gratitude for bladesmithing, and I try to roll that back into, I can't help but roll that back into every next batch of blades I make. And I hope that you can feel it as my consumer. I hope besides being the best ergonomic blades with the best blade geometry and the best metallurgy and super sharp edges that last long and yet are easy to sharpen, I hope that you can also feel, my heart and soul and my spirit of appreciation and thankfulness in every blade that comes out of Carter Cutlery. So there you have it. Those are personal questions for part 8 of Q&A 2016. Thanks. We'll catch you for parts 9 and 10, and then we'll start thinking of projects for 2017. Happy holidays.